Hey everybody, welcome back to Why Not RV. If this is your first time watching, I'm Chris, and today we're going to talk about 5 things you need to know before buying your first RV. Be sure to hit that subscribe button real quick and click the bell so you get notifications if you want to learn more and make less mistakes while RVing. The first thing to think about when buying a new RV, whether it's new or used, is depreciation. You have to remember that when you're buying a brand new RV, the second you drive it off the lot, boom, there goes 10%. It's just like car depreciation, only worse in my opinion. RVs depreciate about 10% a year for the first 5 years. So if you're not prepared to take that loss every single year, I would not be looking at a new RV. Now, if you have the money and you want to buy a new RV and you have the funds and it fits your budget, go for it. Amen. That's awesome. I'm proud of you, but it's just not for me. I like to buy used. Reason I like to buy used is because they hold their value way better than new RVs do. New RVs, again, losing 10% a year. You know, you're talking about buying an $80,000 fifth wheel. 5 years later, it's only worth $40,000. If you buy a 5-year-old fifth wheel for $40,000 and you hold it for 3 or 4 years, you might be able to resell it for 30 grand, 25 grand. So, you know, you're only losing 2 to 5% a year after that first 5 years. There are plenty of good reasons to buy a new RV as well, such as a warranty, having everything taken care of, being under warranty, being brand spanking new, no one's lived in it before, no one's dirtied it up before. That might be exactly what you're looking for. So do not take this as you should buy used or you should buy new. It's just things to consider. The second thing that you need to be aware of, and my second tip for you, is maintenance cost. 95% of RVs out there have, in my opinion, the wrong tires on them. And you can go on 100 different YouTube channels and 100 different YouTubers will all talk about how tires are a constant problem. You'll see it on all the forums, people having blowouts. And the reason that happens is because the factories put on the lowest rated tire that they legally have to in order to hold the weight that the RV is rated for. Well, let's say, for example, your RV weighs 15,000 pounds and they got E-rated tires on there because with the axles included, everything down to the line, they're rated for 15,000 pounds. Well, as you're going down the highway and all of a sudden you hit a nice bump, that 15,000 pounds is not 15,000 pounds anymore. You go into a grocery store real quick and weigh yourself. And if you weigh 200 pounds and you jump on the scale, watch that needle go way past 200 just for a second. Well, that happens enough to an RV, and the RV tires, they get a lot more pressure put on them than they're rated for. So what I did is I put G-rated tires on my RV, which are rated in total combination with the axles way over my max weight of the RV. So I know that even when that RV bounces going down the highway, it's not putting extra stress on the tires that's unnecessary. So number one with maintenance is change out your tires almost immediately. Get some better rated tires. One other thing I forgot to talk about with tires is speed. A lot of people don't understand that the tires have a speed rating depending on what series of tires they are. You can look it up right online, just type in your tire and it'll tell you if it's 60 mile an hour, 65, 70, 75, whatever have you. And generally speaking, most RV tires are on that 60 to 65 mile an hour rating, and people are going down the highways at 70, 75. Over time, it just creates too much heat and they blow, and it's just a constant problem. So make sure you pay attention to your speed rating and do not exceed it. Still talking about maintenance, the next thing to consider is going to be the tow vehicle, whether that's the actual motorhome itself or a truck. You have a lot of maintenance to have done on the motorhome itself, whether it's, changing the fluids, getting your yearly oil change or annual oil change, or however many miles you went. You got all sorts of different fluids inside a motorhome and all sorts of maintenance issues that have to happen yearly. It's the same thing with your tow vehicle. My truck, I take care of very well and I get all of its maintenance done. Got to change the fuel filter. You're always always changing the oil every 5,000 miles. There's a lot of things to be considered. So keep that in mind when you're debating on what kind of RV to get and how much that maintenance cost is going to be. Because a Class A motorhome, it might have the same exact engine as a big, huge Dodge Ram that you get. But guess what? You can take a Dodge Ram right to your corner shop to get maintenance done. You can't take your Class A to a corner shop to get maintenance done. You have to go to an RV dealer, so it's way harder to get maintenance taken care of, and it costs a lot more, so keep that in mind. The last thing to talk about with maintenance is when these RVs are going down the road, they're just chugging along, okay? Imagine taking your house, putting it on wheels, and pulling it down the road just as it sits right now. It goes through a massive earthquake. Everything's shaking, everything's coming loose. So those first, year, 2 years on a brand new RV, everything shakes, rattles, and rolls. And all of a sudden you have all these things breaking in these first 2 years of owning a brand new RV. So another reason I like having an older RV is because generally those things are already been shaken loose, they've already been retightened, they've been reinforced, they've been, whatever it is, it's already happened. So now when everything's going down the road, it's the same stuff, it hasn't changed, and there's still problems, but there's not as many problems. When you're talking about those issues coming up and you taking your RV down the road and it shaking something loose and breaking something, well, you got a brand new RV that you just took down the road to go camping for the weekend, and now the slide won't come out. Well, you do your weekend camping, you get it back, you go to the dealer. Well, now it's sitting at the dealer for a month, 2 months, 3 months, however long it is to get it fixed. You are now not camping. You are not using your RV. So another good reason for me to buy a used RV is because a lot of that stuff has already been taken care of. It's already been figured out, and it lasts a lot longer for you when you're going down the road. One more thing to talk about with things going down the road, whether you have a brand new RV or an older RV, as things break, reinforce them. I know I kind of just talked about it, but I've had many things go wrong and break and come loose on my RV, and every single time something has, I reinforce it. I realized that the desk that I put in there was just shaking around too much, and every single time we got somewhere, everything was all over the place. So what did I do? I screwed it down into the floor, and now it doesn't move at all. We haven't had a single issue with it. We just replaced a organization cabinet in the corner that was for a lot of Erica's design stuff. The first one that we had broke. It was just kind of cheap plastic, cheap metal, and it broke really fast. So we got a heavier duty metal one, and hopefully this one doesn't break. But again, as we go down the road, if it starts doing something I don't like, I can either reinforce it, I can screw it down, I can add brackets, whatever I need to do to make it work better for us. The number 3 thing that you need to know before buying your first RV is how the plumbing works in an RV. I just want to give you guys some basic understanding. This is not a house, okay? There are tanks to be considered, and that's how all your plumbing works, is through these tanks, a series of tanks. So you have fresh water, gray water, and black water. And obviously, depending on the type of camping you want to do, will depend on your needs for your tanks. If you're going from campground to campground, full hookup to full hookup, you're probably not going to be nearly as concerned with your tanks, their size, their capacity, all that stuff, as someone who's going to go boondocking all the time or weekend camping out in the woods or out in the national forest or what have you, because then they're relying on those tanks to live off of while they're out there, versus when you're on full hookups, it doesn't work the same way. So your fresh water in your RV, whether it's from the tank or on full hookups, it's tap water. So you got to, in my opinion, consider some kind of filtration. Some RVs have filtration built into them, some of them don't, but there's plenty of products out there. I'll link down below what I have on my RV. I have a couple different things for filtration for both regular tap water and for drinking water. So I'll link that stuff below, but you want to consider some kind of filtration for your fresh water, because if it's just coming straight in through your hose and out the sink, it's tap water. If you go and fill up your freshwater tank to later use it while you're boondocking, it's still tap water unless you filtered it somehow, some way, and made it a little bit cleaner. Now, gray water, or the gray tanks, is anything that goes down a normal drain. The kitchen drain, sink drain, in the bathroom, the shower drain. That's all gray water. Usually, it's soapy, might have some food particulate in it, stuff like that. But it's really nothing that's that gross. But it's just, that's what gray water is. It's down your regular drains in your regular sinks. Black water, on the other hand, that's the fun stuff. That's the toilet alone. That is what the black tank is your toilet. Whether you have one or two, depending on your RV, that's what black water is. That's the black tank. It's the nasty stuff. And you want to have a nice healthy mixture of a lot more liquid than you do solid inside that tank. So be sure that, you know, if you're out with your family, and depending on how your situation is, make sure you're putting a lot of water down that if need be. Okay, you want to have a lot of water in there, because otherwise, if there's too much solid and not enough liquid, you're going to have this nice big pyramid form inside that tank of solids that you're not really going to want to have to clean out at a later date and have to figure out how to do that. So just go ahead and add a little bit more water when you're flushing and whatnot, so you have a nice healthy mixture of liquid over solids. The number 4 thing you need to know about an RV: electricity. There is 2 different electrical systems on every RV. You have the DC and you have the AC. DC is everything that's just like in a car. Okay, so like, you know, your little overhead lights, the radio, your hydraulic system, if you have a hydraulic system, the water pump, all of your gas furnace, and your fridge, if it has 12-volt fridge. All those things need DC power to run. Then we have AC power, which is just like what's in a house. So all the outlets that are inside the RV that are house style plugs, those all run off of AC power. Now, in your RV, the only way those are going to work is if you are hooked up to some form of power, whether that is shore power, you're hooked up to a pedestal at a campground. It could be off a generator where you're feeding power into the RV, or you could have a nice inverter system that provides power to all of your house outlets. If you're not on one of those 3 things, those outlets will not work. Your TV won't work, your microwave won't work, the AC won't work. The fridge, again, depending on your type of RV, might have both AC and DC, or as they like to say, gas and electric. It'll work off the gas, which is the 12-volt system that runs gas into the fridge, but it won't work off of the regular electric 120-volt AC power unless you're hooked up to some form of shore power, generator power, inverter power, something like that. So if you have further questions on that, there is 1,000 different videos out there that explain RV electricity. I don't want to get too far into it because it gets really complicated really fast, but those are your basic 2 systems, DC and AC. Tip number 5, the last thing that you need to know before buying a new RV, is your tow vehicle weights, limitations, etc. So if you are planning on buying an RV that your current vehicle can already tow, you have to first figure out what your current vehicle can tow. There's 100 different videos out there that talk about weight limits and how to figure out what you can tow. You know, you can start just by looking up your manufacturer's specs of what its tow rating is. You know, if you got a small SUV and it's 4,000 pounds, then you're limited to 4,000 pounds. If you have a bigger truck, look up its tow vehicle or tow ratings and figure out what you can tow. Now, if you don't plan on towing with what you already have, and you say, you know, you're looking at bigger RVs, fifth wheels, larger travel trailers, when you go to get a tow vehicle, you have to make sure you get the right sized vehicle. And remember, when you're looking at these tow vehicles, it's not about if it can tow it, it's about if it can stop it. Because when you're going down hills, now if you live in Florida or somewhere where it's really flat and you think, oh, I'll never leave the state, I just want to go weekend camping, you want to risk your family's life because your trailer's overrated for your vehicle, that's on you. I would never do that. My vehicle can stop my RV going down a 7% grade just fine. And if it wasn't the right size vehicle, trust me, it would not be able to stop it. I'd be barreling down there, and I see people all the time going way too fast downhill because their vehicle cannot stop it. So keep that in mind when you're looking at tow vehicles before and after your purchase decision, because if you're getting a fifth wheel and you need a real big truck, make sure you're getting the right size truck for the right size rig. Don't listen to the dealerships. Dealerships will lie to you, say, oh yeah, your vehicle's fine. It'll tow it, no problem. Sure, it might be able to tow it, but can it stop it? So keep that in mind. Now, that still applies to motorhomes as well. A motorhome might be rated to pull an extra vehicle behind you, or some people call it a toad. You know, you might want to pull your Jeep or a little trailer with a motorcycle on it. Whatever it is that you're pulling with a motorhome, they have limitations and limits too. So know your limits of weight for a motorhome just as you do a truck and trailer. If you're pulling too big of a RV, or excuse me, you're pulling too big of a trailer behind your RV and it can't stop it, it's not going to stop it. The motorhomes are already big enough as they are. So make sure you pay real close attention to those towing weights or towing limits. The other thing to consider is the actual weight of a trailer and its empty weight versus its GVWR, gross vehicle weight rating. My trailer, for example, is I think 13,200 when it's empty and 15,500 for GVWR. So that means that I have, whatever it is, 2,300 pounds that I can add to the trailer from the factory. Well, if I fill up my 80-gallon freshwater tank, that alone is like 650, 700 pounds, somewhere in that area. So that just took out 1/3 of what I can add to the trailer. So you got clothes, plates, books, movies, water, fuel, all that kind of stuff to consider when you're adding stuff into an RV. So look at those numbers when you're looking at trailers, because if you find a trailer, you find a motorhome and its rating is 12,000 pounds and its GVWR is 12,500 pounds, that means you only have 500 pounds to add into the RV. That's not much. That'll go by so fast and you'll never be able to fill up your tanks because the tanks are going to be heavier than that as they are. So make sure you're paying attention to those weights and weight ratings of what you can add to your RV. All right, everyone, that's it for this video. If you stuck around long enough to see me here at the end, I appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up, give me a like, make sure to subscribe, share the channel, spread the word. I'm trying to grow this channel for you guys. I want to help you learn and make less mistakes while you're RVing.